hanging out at night has been a prevalent thing for years. Back then, people may not have had fancy nightclubs or any of that, but they had somewhere they went to get rid of some of the stress of the day or the week. New York City is filled with places like this, but history has a story you definitely want to hear. Welcome back to America's Trip Down Memory Lane channel. In this video, we will be looking at the story of the Grandmama of NYC Nightlife. This video title might sound very weird and unexpected for many reasons, but stay with me here. The NYC nightlife wasn't only for young people, and it turns out that this old lady was trying to make a point about that. We will be discussing the oldest party girl you will probably hear of. Now, who is this party girl? The party girl we'll be talking about is a woman called Sally Lipman, born on October 19, 1900, in New York, United States. Sally was well known for her amazing disco dance moves that she brought to the club after her husband passed away in 1975. She was the true description of a party girl and earned the nickname Disco Sally. However, there is more to that story than just that. Sally was a lawyer, a witty and brilliant attorney who was admitted to the New York State Bar in the 1920s. Her husband, who died in 1975, had also studied law and worked for the Federation of Jewish Philanthropies and in public relations. Unlike her husband never really liked to dance, but they both liked good music. One could say that their joint love for good music was the silver lining of their relationship. Widowed at 75, Sally wasn't sure what to do with herself. While mourning her husband, she decided to pick up her love for good music and dancing and ended up finding herself in the disco scene. This experience, which some might call bizarre, greatly changed her life. The discos of the 1970s and 1980s were unlike anything you have ever seen before, especially if you are a youngster born in the 21st century. Back then, New York City was experiencing a disco high, and this granny had just found a great way to deal with the loss of her darling husband. She decided to dance away her sorrows, not considering her age or the fact that she was surrounded by youngsters. In September 1978, Sally made her first trip to Studio 54 in New York, the world's largest, flashiest hangout for the headline grabbers, with a young 25-year-old boy named John Tuazos, who told her, "You really must see it." According to her recollection, she stuffed her ears with cotton and came along with her young friend John. Scott Bitterman, a former busboy and then assistant manager at Studio 54, recalled, "My favorite regular at the club was a bright, funny elderly woman who came several nights a week and danced much of the night. I attended several dinner parties at her apartment with friends." But the film reduced her to an insipid caricature as Disco Dottie. In real life, Disco Sally was Sally Lipman, a witty and brilliant attorney admitted to the New York State Bar in the 1920s. Sally represented the best of the club for me. She was neither rich nor famous. She was a woman who loved to dance and have fun with her friends in the evening. Dressed in tight pants and high-top sneakers, Sally Lipman became Disco Sally, a star of Studio 54 and Xenon, who managed to draw an audience of adoring fans as she got down to the dance floor. Sally was so great at dancing and so popular that she had many celebs like Dustin Hoffman and Bill Murray queued up to be her dance partners. She was literally the life of the party anytime she was around. Sunday nights at Studio 54 always start quiet like no one is around, and then a few hours later, before midnight, there were nearly as many groupies outside the former TV studio as there were clients inside, where the mostly male crowd had the basketball court-sized dance floor to themselves. It was the perfect disco scene for anyone looking to get their groove on. Bare-chested waiters in jogging shorts and sneakers moved to the rhythm of the beat with their brooms, alongside the couple in New York Yankee suits. The women in leotards or opaque pantyhose with oversized blouses and spike heels, and the men in jeans and t-shirts. The bar was filled with a lot of cowboy boots, some even having spurs resting on the bar rail. It was the nightlife, and it was fun all around. Soon after midnight, the regulars of Studio 54 started to arrive. The first arrival was designer Charles Supon, who had just moved to Central Park West in New York, so he could be within walking distance of Studio 54. He wore his studio uniform, a Lacoste shirt, tight jeans, and cowboy boots. There was another familiar face on the dance floor in the person of Washington store window designer Brian Laus, who had taken the last shuttle up from Washington, D.C. that night. He said, "I was in the lost and found and really bored, so I grabbed some friends, used a little plastic, and here we are." By half past midnight, 77-year-old Disco Sally, the current media star of Studio 54, was surveying the scene from one of the silver-covered sausage-shaped banquets. She was surrounded by 5 or 6 young male admirers, and she said later as she leaned against the bar, "I gotta come every night. It's like a drug." She was almost smothered by John Tuzos, who Sally called a working playboy, but who actually managed a boutique and works a couple of days a week as a maitre d'. Sally always said that she might marry John Tuzos at Studio 54 that fall, and John said about this possibility, she deserves it. She's just a young woman wrapped up in an old body. Sally was a great lawyer, but she always needed something more. She stated that being at the disco scene was great, and that it was easy trading mahjong pieces for evenings at Studio 54. Sally always had gay friends, even her husband knew about it when he was alive. She said there's something about gay people. They're all a little irresponsible. I like that. I find straight people very dull. Sally had just been in Boston the week before raising money for educational TV and had been featured in New York Magazine. She once again jokingly told Liza Minnelli, another Studio 54 regular, that she and John Tuzos might be married, which is how she came to think about it seriously. She had met John's sister from Houston to tell her about the wedding, and Sally reported she said, "Of course I don't mind. I can't imagine why she feels that way." It turns out that Sally's family doesn't feel the same way about the likelihood of a wedding between Sally and John. During an interview on the Today Show, Sally said that her family empathetically disapproved, but she said, "I'm having the time of my life. What's the matter with dying on the dance floor?" Life was going great for Sally, who celebrated her 78th birthday on the dance floor of Studio 54. She once said to an interviewer, "I'll celebrate my 78th birthday here in October, then my wedding maybe." Then Sally leaned over to whisper to her interviewer, John Tuzos, doesn't believe in sex before marriage. Isn't that nice?" Many people thought it was great that this pretty old lady had found the spark she always wanted in her life, and she found it on the dance floor, dancing to disco music with a 25-year-old man she often referred to as a Greek god. Sally did do what she said she would, and she and John Tuzos got married at the Magic nightclub with stars like Lindsay Wagner, Peter Frampton, and David Brenner in attendance. It must have been a memorable time for her, almost like she was regaining her youth. Many people knew her, partly because she was a regular at Studio 54 and also because she had been interviewed a couple of times. I mean, everyone wanted to know who the party grandma was. When they spoke about Disco Sally, they said that she represented the vivaciousness of the club scene and was a pioneer in authentic fame and charisma, without put-ons, posturing, or affections. She had style and the moves to back it all up. She was an absolute star on the dance floor, and she still managed to warm the hearts of all the other youngsters in the club. Nothing lasts forever, and Disco Sally died in May 1982 at Mount Sinai Hospital, and despite repeated requests, no one played disco at her funeral. The grand matriarch of nightlife, known for her wild dancing, even at an advanced age, was truly the ultimate club kid. She reinvented the cougar and brought Studio 54 to its knees. Thank you for watching this video. Hit us up in the comments section and give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos.